All right. Hey, thank you everybody for coming here today, during the day here at the City Hall. Just a few things. If you have a question, I'm going to bring the microphone so you can ask the question on the microphone so folks online can hear the question. It's a lot easier than me trying to repeat the question on there. I'm Trevor Chadwick. I'm the mayor of Star. This is Chief Hessing and Chief Tominski. Chief Hessing with Boise Police, or Boise Police. Chief Hessing with Star Police. La la la. Don't go to Boise, please. And with Star Fire. Where did I get Boise from? I don't know where I got Boise from. That's crazy. So we're here to answer some questions for you folks, and we're gonna let these guys speak a little bit about what's going on. And I'm gonna let Chief Tominski start and have you ask questions of him because he has a board meeting in Middleton he has to head to here in about 30 minutes or less. So I'm gonna just turn it over to him real quick, okay?
All right. Thanks for coming. Most of you are familiar faces that I've seen at this meeting before. So you'll have to just bear with me while I give a quick overview of the fire district. So Star Fire District and Middleton Fire District about 4 years ago merged operations. We are not one fire district yet. There is state law that doesn't allow that. It was changed with House Bill 389, and we can't merge them together. So we operate as one, but we have two separate boards and two separate budgets. Together, we have 36 line firefighters, all the way from the rank of battalion chief down to firefighter. We operate out of 3 stations. We run about 3,000 calls a year in both districts. Both districts together, 165 square miles, Star being 55 and Middleton being 110. It's a really jagged border, so I won't try to explain where the borders are for both. We have our main headquarters here in Star at Station 51. That's where all the admin is for Middleton and Star. And we are still have a funding issue. Most of you might know in May we asked for a levy increase in both districts and they failed. So we learned a lot during that time. We learned that a lot of folks have moved here from other states where other states collect property tax and use it differently than what is allowed by law in Idaho. So we decided to do public information meetings. And I brought some flyers that I'll hand out to everybody before I go. But we have the next 2 topics that we're going to be talking about. Session 1 will be what is a fire district, and how is it funded by the state of Idaho? And session 2 is fire district budgets, property tax levies in Idaho, and how does it work? So the biggest thing that we learned was we were asking for an increase of, in Star, $53 per $100,000 of taxable value, which was based off of, it's all by state law, based off of last year's value of this fire district. So recalculating those numbers today, because we have the real values, that number really would have been $40 or $41 instead of 53. But law says we have to use last year's numbers. So that's another thing that comes up is we have heard that in other states when somebody says they're going to increase a levy, $53 and some odd cents, they can keep it there. They can keep it there as long as they want to. Not true in Idaho. You cannot do that. As the property values increase by population, by houses being built, or values of property go up, commercial, whatever adds to that bucket, drives that number down. For instance, 5 years ago, 4 years ago, 5 years ago, we did a bond for that building here in Station 51. I believe that one started off at, I'm just going to use a round number, about $15 for $100,000 of taxable value. Today, it's less than $4. So it goes down automatically. There is no way for us to keep that at $53 or $15 or anything else. It goes down. So that's one of the things that we're trying to explain to people. I do understand that if somebody said they're going to raise your property taxes $53 per $100,000 forever, that could be very concerning. That can't happen in this state. Do you have some?
No,
Oh.
I don't know if you had more. I was just.
No.
I thought you stopped.
Does have anybody have any
Strategic
questions on
yeah,
that?
hang on one sec. Let me, you guys questions here. Let's start with her.
Okay, I don't actually don't need that.
You do need that.
Oh, okay.
Fine.
It's really loud.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry about that. When you build new houses in the area, aren't they, the new houses, the builders build for a certain amount? Because where I lived in California, the builders, S&S Chappelle, actually had to build, they were building over 1,000 houses, and they had to build the firehouse because they're the ones impacting the area. Why are the people having to pay for it when it's the builders that are actually making the change? People are
That
moving in, but they've got the money, not the people.
that is a great question. So we do collect impact fees from every residence, every commercial building, everything that is built, unless it's something that is being tore down and rebuilt. Everything that's being built, we're collecting an impact fee on. And building like the new fire station that we're putting out here on Floating Feather, that is 100% paid by development. But what we can't use that money for is people. And I can't, like Chief Hessing, he can hire one police officer and it helps his circulation of police officers throughout the city of Star. I have to hire 9 firefighters, 3 captains, 3 engineers, and 3 firefighters to be able to staff a fire station 24/7, 365. And impact fees in new construction is not allowed to pay for people. That is property tax.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So she said that people may have not have known that information that Chief just provided.
Yep.
All right.
So my question is, how, as the city of Star residents, do we make up for this lost revenue and the various issues that drive this down that don't allow you to fund the fire department and the police department as we need it to be funded? How are we going to make that up? How can we do that?
The only way that we have to make it,
Beautiful question. I love it.
the only way we have to make it up is to do a levy increase to make up the difference. We are still fighting every day with lawmakers to change it. I don't know, some of you might have heard different podcasts and stuff with some of the representatives and speaker about cities and how property taxes, their budgets are, I don't know, what do you say, 25 and 25% of their budget is property tax in a city and 45% in a county. Well, it's different for a special district, like a fire district. We're 97% reliant on property tax. We don't have fees that we can collect. We collect some fees. That's the 3% that's left. In state statute, it tells us how much we can charge for a daycare inspection, how much we can charge for a beer and wine inspection, how much we can charge for a plan review on a development or a commercial building. And all those added up don't add up to the cost of the fire marshal that does that job every year. So to answer the question is the levy increase makes up the difference. And that if we can get legislation changed, and I think it'll be a really tough sell to ask them to repeal House Bill 389. I mean, I've asked that 100 times and it never goes anywhere. So we just have to make some fixes in it. And I can tell you from the Star and Middleton fire districts, if we were to pass a levy increase and got legislation changed all at the same time, we would reduce the 2.25 million. We just wouldn't collect as much from those days afterwards. We wouldn't have to collect some of the new construction. We wouldn't have to collect the 3% to make up that difference if it all came at one time. But this levy increase that we're talking about doesn't just fix what has happened in the past 3 years. It also gets us for the next 2 years to get something fixed in the legislature, because this has been 3 years of absolutely nothing has changed. So we're not anticipating that they're all going to come into office in January and say, all right, we're going to fix this today. We don't anticipate that happening. But if it did, I can assure you guys that we would not collect 100% of the 2.25 million.
So this is all new to me, so I have another question. If you combine the two districts, how much money would you be saving that you could move that money over to the people that you need?
So
Because it seems like it's duplicate, it's redundant of having two main areas. It seems.
that's a good question. We are already saving the taxpayers' dollars. We're saving each district about $430,000 a year by combining the administration and the people. There isn't really a tax savings in merging districts together. Middleton Fire, I'm just specifically talking about Star today to you guys, but in Middleton, they're also asking for a levy increase of the same amount. They have missed out on the same amount of property tax since House Bill 389 has passed.
So to answer your question is they've already taken that into account by only having one administration staff for two districts versus having a fire chief, fire marshal, all that. There you have one for two districts. So they're saving both tax bases money by doing that. Yeah.
Who do we write to and what do we ask for?
Everything.
Go ahead, answer.
So basically what we are working, we need to write to our legislature, right? Your representatives for District 10, tell them that you support some changes to House Bill 389 to help fund our public safety. And that's the key on this whole thing. The big thing with House Bill 389, what they've done is they limited us to budget increase of only 8%. For the city of Star, for instance, 100% of our property taxes goes to pay for our police. Doesn't cover it all, right? But when you look at Star's budget, we just approved it, $2 million in property taxes for the city of Star on a $4 billion value in the city of Star. That's a very little amount if you really think about that. If I could only increase that by a maximum of 8% per year, that's $160,000. That may pay for one police officer, but with the growth that we see, we can't pay for more, right? Some of the challenges we have on the state level is they don't give us the tools to stop the growth or slow the growth. I can't just go cap building permits. I'm not allowed to do that kind of stuff, right? And so we're in a catch-22 here, right? So we are doing things. So you need to write your legislature. So you have two representatives in District 10 and one senator, right? So Tammy Nichols is a senator, Bruce Skog and Mike Moe are legislatures. That's where you're going to make the most impact. And if they could come up with a plan, which we've been working on, to fund public safety, then support that plan and get more people to write in and tell them that this is what we want done, right? So we can have new construction added into the rolls to help pay for this instead of him having to come and ask the citizens for a levy increase every 5 years or whatever to catch up with that, right? The current growth rate in Star, we're about 16%. So if you look at about 16% versus 8% budget growth, it doesn't go a long ways, right? Especially with our property tax amount being so low. I think, what's your property tax amount? How much do you levy dollar-wise?
Star Fire District, we were just under $4 million.
So they levy under $4 million with a much higher value in their district because they're not just the city of Star. They go out into the county areas, into these bigger home developments and stuff like that out there as well. Okay. Yeah.
Greg, what was the percentage that it lost by in May? Do you remember? A lot.
Yeah, it takes 67%, 66 and 2/3% to pass, and I think we were at 42%.
Just repeat the question for her, so we didn't get.
The question is when do we plan on repeating the levy increase again? And the answer is yes, we will try that again in November. We basically cannot stop trying until it passes, which is sad to say, because we were at like $1.1 million at the end of our last budget that we have lost. Since 389 came in, we're at 1.5 to 1.6 now. That number is just going to continue to get bigger.
Yeah.
We have savings, and I don't want anybody to think that we're getting rid of firefighters. We're not going to respond. I don't want anybody to think that we have savings, but at the rate that we're going right now, the savings will be gone in a matter of time. We had to take money out of savings, 3%, which is, it's not a lot, but it's still money. We had to take money out of savings just to keep the doors open this year. We did not have enough in property taxes to fulfill the budget without buying. I mean, I'm not talking about buying new fire trucks, hiring new people or anything else. We had to take money out of savings just to keep the lights on.
And the thing we got to remember is the inflation's been so high that 8% sometimes barely covers the inflation on its own, right? Not to include the needs of the community as we're growing, right? So that's some of the challenges we face. And, you know, we've done some stuff as a city to try to help on a temporary basis for this. We put mitigation fees. No one else has done this in the state of Idaho. We put mitigation fees in place to help pay for some of the firefighter increases, but it's not a long-term solution. It's a short-term because it's one-time money. So every new house that's built now is paying $3,000 for police and a $3,000 fee for fire. But I can't go and hire a station's worth of firefighters with the assumption that we are going to have 600 building permits a year to be able to keep those firefighters in place, right? The unfortunate reality is the only true revenue source is property taxes, and we don't have to pay it. And you have to decide. I'm just going to put this out there. Is your life worth not having the responses because the firefighters are busy on another call, right? Mine, I would support it all day long. Unfortunately, if we didn't have House Bill 389 in place, it would already be built in on the back end for that at that time. Yeah.
What are the current response rates right now for the police and the fire department?
What do you mean by response rates?
Like response times?
Response times? Well, it depends on which part, you know. We try, our goal in STAR is to respond to all 911 calls basically within the city limits in 5 minutes or less. Yeah, they keep going up. Yes, they're going up. Getting over to where we're building the new station on Floating Feather and Pollard, getting over to there, we're over 7 minutes right now. It is
Still, that, not when it's continued to grow. But I mean, that's, oh yeah, okay. So throw out Los Angeles on that mix. Yes, right. Yeah.
Sure. And that is response time. That doesn't count turnout time and stuff like that. So from the time you call 911 to when we get there, because if it's a fire, they have to get dressed, get out of the station. We have had responses out there in that area that have been almost 9 minutes.
And we got
Still, I mean, it's still not bad. Yes.
yes, ma'am. Sorry.
How is our homeowners' fire insurance impacted by the fire department?
So that's another great question. So every 5 years we get rated by the Insurance and Rating Bureau. And we're up here in the next year or two. They're going to be calling. We have done everything that we can to keep everything in place to keep our rating currently in the city limits of STAR at a 3. And there's a lot of factors that go into it. It's water supply, our hydrants that we have from sewer and water district. It's our dispatch and how redundant the system is. It's our training hours. It's our response times. It's our capabilities, our equipment. So when STAR built the first 3-story buildings, which are the apartments or next to Highway 16 there, the rules of the ISO rating says that if you have 5 buildings over 3 stories, you have to have a ladder truck. And so we, with a partnership with STAR used their ARPA funds to buy us a ladder truck, which is only going to help keep that number at a 3. We hope to move that number down to a 2. The lower the number, the more you save. But if we don't have the bodies, that's what we're asking for in a levy increase. If we don't have the bodies to staff that station, our response times continue to go up, it'll change it back to a 4 and could go to a 5. And then there's the outside of the city where we do have water, but we have a response time that is closer to 10 minutes. So those people, their ISO rating's an 8 or a 9.
What I'm thinking is that's a good selling point for this levy, because if people realize that their homeowner insurance, their home insurance is going to go up. If they realize that, maybe they'll be more interested in getting our fire station taken care of.
And we discuss all that when we had our open houses. We discussed the insurance. I mean, we're doing our best to keep it where it is today. That does not mean your insurance isn't going to go up because of everything else that's happening in the world that makes the insurance rates go up. But we're doing our best to keep them at the 3. That's what we reduced them 5 years ago, from a 4 to a 3. And I mean, it's not a lot. It doesn't change your insurance a lot. We can get that down to a 2 or 1. It starts to make a difference. It goes up to an 8 and it's hundreds of dollars a year more. So we're trying to balance it and keep it there where it is right now. Because of the water system isn't quite as good in Middleton, that one's still at a 4. We haven't got it down to a 3 yet, but we're still working on that. That's a great question. And we do tell people that one. The problem is honestly, if I could ask you to do one thing between now and November, is get your neighbors to come to these things and learn about it. Because that was the same with the open houses. We advertised, we sent things out in water bills, we sent mailers out. You know, we were lucky to get 20 people to show up to open houses. We've had 2 of these so far, and we've got 3 people. And I mean, we advertised it on social media, we advertised it in the paper, we advertised it as much as we, well, probably, obviously not as much as we could because we didn't get enough people to show up. But we still give the information. Doesn't matter if there's one person there, but I would love to see a packed house. And I'd love to see questions like this. This is great when people ask questions and want to know.
So we got any more questions of Chief before he's got to fly?
I got about 15, 20 more
You got
minutes.
15 minutes?
Yeah,
There's
there's
got a siren too, so you could use a siren.
I know there was some lack of funding where my father lived in Huntington Beach, California. He got a bill one day and they said that for emergency services, for 911 services, there will be a $2,000 surcharge this year. And if you don't pay it, no 911 services are calling or coming, even the cities that was going to be paying for private 911 services. But if you don't pay this and you need 911, they're not coming. I don't recommend this type of scare tactics, but my question still stands, how are we going to replace this funding that we need?
Well,
Just right into the
well, but you gotta put pressure on the state legislature to make the change. And it's gonna take everybody. You look at Canyon County EMS, for instance. On the Canyon County side, they tried to run a levy at the same time and it failed. Well, I think that's a little important to have ambulances there and the ability to get you to where you need if you're having a heart attack, a stroke, and an accident or whatever, right? And it's going to take that. The only source of funding that we have right now is through the property tax and that levy increase to get it whole. And then get the legislature to make that change, right?
What type of outreach have you done with the precinct committeemen within the jurisdiction of STAR? Because they are the direct link to the legislature, and Moyle is the head of the House. So he should be definitely in our pocket because he lives here. And if you're not getting an outreach, then there might be something that needs to be done with the PCs in the area, because the PCs do the canvassing and so forth, and they can get what you need to be done. But it looks like you need to change, and maybe that's an idea to use is the PCs.
Yeah, I am. I've talked to Mayor Chadwick about that, and we do have Moyle's ear. I talked to him a couple times a week about it. And he has made some comments about changing some stuff for emergency services. But we've talked about that for 2 years and it hasn't happened yet.
I am.
I guess that's also.
So I
mentioned.
well, that's good because I'm also a PC. Yeah, 10:05. So we work with Mike a lot on trying to make some changes. The problem is Mike doesn't like taxes at all. I'm gonna just be honest, right? And well, no one does, but he really, really doesn't like taxes. And sometimes when you're trying to address the needs of some of these bigger cities, the smaller cities and smaller entities get impacted greatly, right? And I think that's what's happened. And when you talk to Mike, he really thought that the citizens would have passed that levy in May. You know, because we support the police and the fire and all that. And I think it was an eye opener to him when that didn't happen, right? But it's going to take citizens to tell them that we need these changes to, because this is what I'm going to be honest. And Mike's probably, if he's listening, he's going to yell at me. He's my neighbor, by the way, too. So we talk all the time. But he's going to say the cities need to do better. Well, what does that mean? Specifically, what does that mean? When you look at my property tax and STAR, it's going to pay for my police. 100%, not even 100. 100% of property taxes pay for about 60% of my police budget, right? The rest of it, I'm making it up elsewhere to try to pay for that police budget, but it's not sustainable, okay? So that's where there's 198 cities in the state of Idaho, right? When they're going after the larger cities like Meridian, for instance, right? I don't know if you've seen that battle in there between Meridian and STAR, or not Meridian and STAR, but Meridian in the House. Just recently, there were some statements made. Meridian has $200 million in savings, right? And they were going after House Bill 389. But why? You have all this extra cash that you can help pay for things, right? I get that. I get that concern there. But when you look at a smaller city like STAR that's growing, or the Rathdrum is growing at a bigger rate than we are in northern Idaho right now. Yeah, and they're a small city. All these small cities are suffering. We can't get the necessary services in place for the growth that's happening because of one bill and the component of the bill that's capping you at 8% and only being able to take 90% of the new construction and using last year's labor rate. They made all these changes at the last minute in 2021 that created havoc amongst everybody here. Is the intent right? Yeah. I mean, we don't like taxes, but taxes are the unnecessary evil to pay for the essential services that we need for the community to be strong and supportive. I mean, you look at places that, and California, different animal. I totally get that, right? From everybody. Idaho's completely different animal and how we utilize these taxes on paying for services and stuff out here. We don't just, like STAR, for instance, for years, we have what's called foregone, which is taxes we haven't taken over the years that sits in this fake account that we can't even access, but 1% a year of that, and it's $640,000. Now, if you think about my budget of property taxes at $2 million, we were fiscally conservative and strong with that for so long. We didn't take it because we didn't need it, and it banked it in this account for future use. I can't even grab that today for this because of the growth we've seen now, right? So this extreme fiscal responsibility that we've done over the years is creating problems for us today because of what the legislature did with that bill in 2021, right? And so what it's basically done, if you're a small city in the state of Idaho, if you have an opportunity to take 8% increase, you're going to have to do it every year, even though you may not need it right now to protect the future, because you have no way to keep the city whole over the period of time. So it's making us have to do things differently today than we would have ever done in the past, right? And that's a concern. And that's the things that I don't think that they really grasp a hold of because they don't understand truly the city budget and operations side of it, right? On what we have to do here on the smaller entities and counties and stuff. There's some small counties that are struggling too, that have very little population in the state of Idaho because of that. Yeah.
He mentions when he talks on podcasts and stuff, Mike, I'm talking about, well, that, you know, the revenue sharing, there's so much sale or sales tax in Idaho that they give so much of it to the cities and the counties in revenue sharing that, I mean, he was bragging about it, that they don't actually have to do, but they do it to keep the property taxes down, which I think everybody appreciates it. But at the end of the day, the fire district doesn't get it. The fire district, our fire district, I don't know, how much do you get?
So on our revenue sharing per year, we get 1.3 million. So the revenue sharing formula is basically the 11.5% of the sales tax in the state of Idaho gets split up between the cities and counties based on your population. And that population portion changed just a few years ago. It used to be based on agriculture and mining and timber and things like that, right? But they've changed that. Like cities like Sun Valley were getting $640 a person, while Star was only getting like $50 a person, right? But that's changed, and the formula's changed to where that is split up by population now. Now that's also not, right now they're all. I'm sorry, I don't mean to cut you off, but I just want to explain this though. But for several years during COVID, our sales tax revenue was really high because people were coming in to the state of Idaho, purchasing things, traveling here when other places, California, Washington, Oregon, were shut down. They were coming here buying stuff, right? Well, now they're starting to taper off and come down. And so now even revenue sharing amounts are going to come down for us. So it's not a guaranteed revenue source. If the economy takes a dump, like a lot of people are projecting, that's going to hurt us more, right, in the funding of the cities. Now, it doesn't impact fire like that, but the property tax part of it impacts the fire.
Yeah, my whole point with the revenue sharing is he only collects $2 million in property tax, or right, 2 million?
Yeah, 2 million.
$2 million in property tax. We collect almost $4 million in property tax. His revenue sharing is 1.3 million. Our revenue sharing, the most it's ever been was 2 years ago at $185,000.
Yeah.
It's just such a minimal amount. So you take that and then the minimal amount of fees, that equals the 3% that we're short. I mean, that's why we're 97% reliant on property tax and not 100% reliant on property tax. The other interesting comment that you'll hear representatives make about House Bill 389, they apparently folks that moved here from other states had a mortgage. They moved to Idaho and paid cash for houses. I'm not saying it's any of you people in here, but a lot of people did apparently during COVID. Now they have to write a check for their property tax that they never had to do before because it was in their mortgage. And that is one of the comments that Speaker Moyle has said, that the complaints that they've gotten was people complaining about how much property tax they had to pay, but they had no idea what they were paying, where they came from. I've asked so many people that question. I travel around teaching incident command, and I've asked people, do you know how much you pay in property tax? Property tax is always on top of my head, so I always ask that question. They got not a clue.
Right. It's really high. It's really high in other areas. And just to be clear, Idaho is third lowest in the nation in property taxes. Right. I mean, so where's the real issue with that? It's just the fact you got to change. You got to convince them and change the mentality a little bit on that to try to make this back and make it whole for everybody. Right. And it's not about attacking Speaker Moyle or anybody like that. It's just their philosophy is they don't want people to pay taxes. They hear all these people complaining. Well, I'm going to be honest with you. I had my budget hearing last week. It's been publicized. It goes out in the mail, all that. 0 people showed up to talk about my budget. Last year, 2 people, and it's been the same 2 people for 8 years. Right? We get nobody participating in this, in the budget process. The Star Fire District budget, 0 people to come in and to talk about the budget. That's property tax related.
11 years running now.
I have yet to receive a complaint in the city of Star, even though I was on city council from 2016 to 2020, and mayor since then, from anybody about property taxes in the city of Star. Nobody. And so the messaging that they're portraying is all these people are complaining about property taxes it's hard for us to swallow and believe because we don't see it at our level. No one wants to pay it. Like I said, no one wants to pay it, but it is what we need in order to fund our essential services and our stuff. For like the city of Star, the reason why, and we changed this philosophy that we put 100% of the property tax into our police is because at the time when the economy goes bad, I can't reduce my police. That's when the crime's going to go up. I can reduce my salary. I can reduce staff. I can do all that kind of stuff there to make sure that these guys stay whole and that our community stays safe, right? But that's our only revenue source that's a guarantee in the state of Idaho is that, right?
So house meeting on this.
Greg, when's your next open house meeting on this?
The next one in Star is August 29th at 3:30 at Station 51. And then we have another one that is exactly the same at Station 53 in Middleton, 302 East Main. And then we're going to do another one at 6 p.m. on the 28th, the same day in Middleton. We're going to do two at Middleton, one at 3:30 and one at 6 as a recap of, I mean, they'll be the same presentation if you come to Star or you go to Middleton. But we're going to do a recap at 6 o'clock in the evening because we had a handful of complaints that the working folks don't get to come at 3:30. The reason that I picked 3:30 was because our trial with this. I think Dana put this out. We started at 5 o'clock. We did a 6 o'clock. We did a 3:30. We got more folks to come at 3:30. There was times at 5 and 6 that we had absolutely nobody show up. So 3:30 was the number that worked for this one. We tried different times, but there are some folks that are upset about it. So we're just going to recap it again at 6 o'clock and we'll just repeat ourselves. I got no problem with it.
So we'll have him hand out those flyers to you. So you have those dates. And like you said, if you don't mind getting people going, you got to go, Greg, because this is rush hour time. You got to go to Middleton. Say again. For them. Well, they are, but the radio, it's hard on the radio. I'm not convinced the radio is the best way to go anymore, just because of the options that you have and what you can get. I don't know. This is them. They have to use it through their public information officer over there to do that. But for us as a city, it doesn't. It's not like when I grew up here and we listened to 94.9 FM all the time and would throw stuff on there. But I do Sirius XM right now anymore on there. But I get what you're saying. I completely understand that too. See, we can't call them that. Because we have a fee structure system, we can't change that and intermingle them like that. It's a little different. If that was the case, we could only increase it by 5%. All right, so we're gonna have Chief, you can run. And then, oh, one more thing. Well, you know, Zach's been sitting here not saying anything.
I'd like to hear Zach.
Okay.
My turn?
Yeah.
All right. All right,
So
Zach,
if you want to answer, after you're done, answer.
I'm gonna make sure I'm gonna get back to her question about response time. So I'm Zach Hessing, Star Police. Just to recap real quick, 'cause I know a few of you have been here before, but Star Police Department is a contract with the Ada County Sheriff's Office. So City of Star contracts with Ada County Sheriff. So I'm a lieutenant with the Ada County Sheriff's Office, assigned as the Chief of Police in Star. So in the City of Star, we have 18 commissioned deputies, including myself. So that consists of 10 patrol deputies, 2 patrol sergeants. We have 3 detectives, 2 are person crimes, one's a property crime. We do have the newly formed, just about a year ago, we formed the POP team, which is the problem-oriented police team. They're a proactive police team out there making traffic stops. About 70% of what they do is traffic enforcement, but they also focus on any trouble houses we have, any warrants we have in the city, those type of things. And then we do have one professional staff, which is Jada Butterfield. She's our admin assistant that if you call Star Police, she'll answer or come in the front office there. So the contract portion of this, just as we talk about being fiscally responsible, and I just talked at a chamber luncheon about this. The contract, there's a lot of good. There's maybe a few things that make my job harder because I have 2 bosses, one standing right here and one's the sheriff. Luckily, both Sheriff Clifford and Mayor Chadwick are fantastic to work with, so that's a good side of it. If you look at our budget, so if you compare us to, and I do use Garden City Police, and they're a fantastic police department. Chief Stambaugh over there is fantastic. But if you look at his budget compared to ours, so our budget for last year or this fiscal year we're currently in is 2.89 million. And we have a population of 20,360 people. If you look at Garden City, there's 5.89 million and they have 12,700 people. So we have about 7,000 to 8,000 more people in City of Star, but our budget is about 3 million less, almost half, more than half of what theirs is. And part of that has to do with the contract. A lot of it has to do with the contract on how I don't have to worry about the HR side of it. I don't have to worry about those type of things because everybody that we hire on at Star Police are already full-time law enforcement officers for Ada County Sheriff. And so we have about 196 patrol deputies out there working for Ada County. And I get to go through and pick out the ones I want out of that 196 that come to Star. And they love coming to Star because just the questions tonight have been fantastic about how first responder Star is. And we have a great mayor and city council that's very supportive. And then we have a very good working relationship with our Star Fire guys too. So one of the questions that came up was the call services. So we have 3 different goals in the city of Star, and those goals have to do with us being proactive, trying to keep the crimes from 18 crimes per 1,000 under that, right? Which is among the lowest in this area, right? The city of Star is I have kids in this area. They ride their bikes around, and they can do that. And I know in some parts of the country, people don't let their kids ride around, and I want to remain it that way. So we're very proactive, being out there doing traffic enforcement, doing those type of things. And then our calls, our response time. So just to give you an idea, in the month of June, we had 1,969 calls that we responded to. Out of those calls, the calls that when somebody called in, I call those kind of a reactive call. That's when something's already happened or something's happening, that somebody either calls 911 for an emergency or calls our non-emergency dispatch and asks for a deputy to come. We had 337 calls for service to them. But we had 1,632 calls that we created ourselves, that we're proactive on. That's traffic stops. That's people stopping people at 2 o'clock in the morning, asking them, friendly. We're always friendly, but we're asking what they're up to. If they have a backpack on, those type of things, we're kind of a little suspicious. If it's 2 o'clock in the morning, they're walking around a construction area. We do stop at the schools. First day of school was today. We stop at schools. We walk around quite a bit. If you ever drive by Star Elementary, we usually have people there. Walking around and saying hi to the kids. We stop at the skate park, the Star Pond, the Freedom Park that we just created. We spent a lot of time this summer down there trying to help out, keeping the noise level best at the minimum as possible, those type of things. But our response time, our goal in the city, and that's the third goal we have in City of Stars, be under 4 minutes. And I'm glad to say that so far, our average this year is 2 minutes and 27 seconds when you call for code 3 emergency response. We know that seconds matter when somebody calls for police, so we want to make sure we're there as fast as possible. And then for outside, we do help outside the City of Star every once in a while for unincorporated and Eagle or Meridian, just like if we had emergency, Meridian's coming to help us and Eagle's helping us too, and unincorporated Ada County. But outside is about 4 minutes and 22 seconds our average in this area. So we do have a good response time around here. We are very proactive in getting out there, trying to slow people down ever since which is great. We have the 4 lanes now on State Street coming through downtown, but that has created some people thinking that, oh, I don't have to do 25 anymore. I can go faster. And so we are making stops on that. We've made some really good improvements on when we do make traffic stops, we're pulling drugs out of those cars. I reported to City Council, again with this same report, that this is the first month that I'm aware of, now there could have been other months, that all of our drug crimes, we had I think a total of, let me look here, eight drug crimes in the City of Star for the month of June. All those had to do with marijuana. Not one had to do with methamphetamine, fentanyl, any of those things, which is a really good thing. And I'm telling you, we're glad that we can still enforce marijuana laws around here. We hope it remains that way. But that tells me that the rumors, and we've heard rumors that don't drive through Star because with drugs, because if you drive through Star with drugs, they're going to stop you and you're going to jail. I want that to remain the case. And again, I was really happy to see the month of June, even though I don't want any marijuana around here. But of all the drugs, marijuana is probably the one that we're okay dealing with because you still arrest them. But at least it's not fentanyl where people are overdosing and dying and causing problems with our juveniles. So we're doing a good job getting out there and seeing that. But did that answer all the questions you had?
Yeah.
Yes. Oh, sorry. I spoke kind of fast. I
We can,
apologize.
when we're done, we can answer some of those so you get it typed in. Thank you, chief.
Yep.
He's gonna go code 3 in Middleton. So just to add to what Chief Hessing was saying, this budget year, we did budget in to have a K-9 here in Star and also an admin sergeant, I think, here in Star also, which puts more on the streets. And that K-9 is just going to help reinforce this drug issue and push people out. Because mine and Chief's whole goal is stop it here on the streets before it gets in our neighborhoods anywhere, right? And it's working right now, which is great. Yes, ma'am. Hang on. Whoa, wait, whoa.
I've noticed that, is it Main Street by the beer guys? All the speed bumps,
Yep.
that has slowed people way down.
Oh, good. I'm glad to hear that.
It's like, okay, so, but what my concern is now, Star Road is open. They think that's a raceway, and every time I go down Star, I have my signal on by Celestial, pull in, and someone's coming on to the right, hits the trash can. You need to put someone up there at the rush hour.
Okay. Yep. And so especially with school starting up, with all the, so we're trying to hit some of the bus stops we know of that have that issue. We did have our radar trailer there off of Star Road that was close there because we know it is a speeding area for people. So we're trying to get out there and get to them. Just knowing, we really do appreciate people calling in and letting us know where they're seeing the speeding because we'll actually mark that down and we'll either get the radar trailer out there or if we have the deputy available, we'll put the deputy out there. But I know I said if we have 10 patrol deputies, but that's 24/7. So just know at a time, usually we have 2 deputies on. Every once in a while it drops down to 1 depending on the hours. Sometimes we have 3. So we do cover a lot of area with those 2 deputies, but we will absolutely, I know that is a problem areas there. So, yep. And the other thing about this K-9 that's going to be fantastic is there's a lot of case law stating that we can't hold somebody on a traffic stop only for the purpose of why we stop them. So we stop them for a tail light out or speeding, those type of things, unless we have reasonable suspicion that there's something else going on. So what that means is if I don't have any reason, if the officer can't articulate reasonable suspicion of why they're holding this person for a drug issue, they only have the amount of time it takes to write that citation or give the verbal warning and let that person go. So, and I'm talking, they've even had case law that if I'm in my car and I've made a traffic stop on a speed limit, somebody that was speeding, and an officer walks up to my car, if I take a break to explain to this officer the reason why I stopped that, and it's only maybe 3 or 4 seconds, they've deemed that as unnecessary that I'm holding that person for. We're talking seconds. So what's nice about having this K-9 is this K-9 can show up in a traffic stop, and even while the officer's writing on a citation, can go and just run his dog on that car, and if it hits, then we have reasonable suspicion. So it will help tremendously with getting some drugs off the street. So I'm excited. This is the first time City of Star's ever had a K-9. So we're excited to get that program started, and I really do appreciate the mayor and the city council improving that.
Any questions of Chief Hessing right now? And you got an easy one.
Yeah.
Greg got hammered. What questions do you have of me just in general here? So
Morning.
the goats, you mean?
I mean, the goats, yeah.
We were going by, they weren't there, we were coming back there. Yeah, so you'll see that, and I don't know if they've done it in other states, but there's an outfit that actually will, like that's state highway right away. They'll hire them to go eat down the goat, or eat down all the stuff. Goats eat everything, right? And it doesn't kill them. They're expensive, but they get fed well. Lots of good stuff. Yes, sir. The ITD would be paying for that. The state highway, yeah, and the state right away, the question was, who's paying for those goats? That would be the state, might have a contract, and maybe put it out the bid, I don't know on that, but it's pretty cool when you see that show up sometimes, right? Okay,
So, ITD, I'm not sure when, is going to start building the bridge across State Street 16. So do you know when that's happening? And when that happens, is that intersection shut down and then we only have one way to get out?
that's a good question. So ITD is bidding out that section of Highway 16 and 44 this fall with the anticipation of starting it next year, right? They were going to bid it out this summer, but they held off because they want to extend that project and widen out 16 if they can with that same project up to almost Floating Feather up there. And so they're in the design work with some of that before they put that out to bid. Just like what they're doing up here on the rest of Highway 16 project, it won't shut down the intersection in its entirety for us, right? They'll do these on and off ramps things where people go on the on and off ramps to get on Highway 16, keep 44 open, build that up, probably shut it down at night when they put the girders and stuff on there, and then continue working. We'll still drive on that. They all know, I'm going to tell you, I'm going to be honest, that Star Road, as painful as it was when it was closed, it was a blessing. Because Star Road is a project that we've been pushing to get completed as far as widening and that bridge done because it needs to be done, right? It's the only arterial we have north and south in our city that connects us between two state highways. Having it shut down, and all the issues that it caused, put it right in everybody's mind on what they're going to have to do when they do that construction over there. They're not going to be able to shut that bridge down completely for 2 years while they build it. They're going to have to do what they did in Horseshoe Bend, where they did half the bridge, and you drove on the other half, and then you drive on the new part, and they tear down the other half and connect it, right? They're going to have to do things like that. They saw the issues it caused because we have 17,000 vehicle trips a day dang near on that road every day. You have 21,000 vehicle trips a day on Highway 44. So you almost double the vehicle trips on 44 without an additional bridge crossing anywhere. Caused all sorts of problems, right? This segment of highway right here in front of, well, not right here, right over here, that they need to finish widening out here. This is where it was tied. So they had a project, it was like a $200 million project. They had all the environmental stuff because they used federal money, right? All this environmental stuff and everything done. That would have gone from here or from Linder all the way to the Interstate 84. Okay. When Middleton got rid of their bypass that they were going to have, that threw that whole project out. They had to save this segment with that environmental study and not have, so they didn't have to redo it. When they're doing that, it's delayed the funding for this project. So and this is another thing I keep telling Moyle, just give me $10 million, I'll get it done. You know, give me $10 million, I'll get it done. The heck with the feds at this point. We just need to get this widened so people can get through town. That 21,000 vehicle trips a day that we have come through Star, 70% of that is originated out of Canyon County. That's not a Star challenge. That's comes off the other side in the county in Caldwell and Middleton and in parts of Star that are in Canyon County. But the majority of that is outside the city limits and our scope, the city of Star. And so we have a vested interest in getting this done. That segment of highway that got done in front of Albertsons, that was done by the city using development money to pay for that, right? And so we did that and had that design built in 18 months. I don't have a road department. I always tell these guys, why does it take you 5 years to get anything done? Doesn't make any sense. I have a construction background in commercial estimating and project management and stuff like that, but not a road guy. But you know how to put the pieces together. That's why I tell Moyle, give me $10 million. We'll get this last segment done right here on this, right?
Is 44 going to go over 16?
16 is going to go over 44 on that. Yeah. 16 will go over 44. You'll have another at Chinden. 16 is going to go over Chinden. It's going to go over all of them, right? Yeah. But they're going to treat Highway 16 like a freeway. They want 2 mile spacing, you know, all that. So when you go that direction, you'll notice that, like, I think at McMillan, you won't have an on and off ramp, but at Ustick you will. Then Franklin you don't. And then I think it's Franklin, right? Yeah, and then the next one you will. Cherry. Yeah, Cherry you won't, and Franklin you will. Right. Yeah.
So I recall that you talked about that Floating Feather is going to be expanded, I think to 5 lanes.
Yeah, so the ultimate goal for all of Floating Feather, you mean? The ultimate goal is for 5 lanes at some point, but they're going to expand it to 3 all the way through first at some point. But they have to replace all those bridge culverts before they get to that expansion portion. So you're going to see over the next few years, Munger Road and Floating Feather, you'll see shutdowns because they have to do those bridge culverts on there. They can only do those when in the wintertime, when the water's out of the canals.
Canals. So the new developments going in, all of the canals appear to be covered, and our development has an open canal through it. Is there going to be any requirement for any changes?
No, so I would prefer them all to stay open. You know, and so what we're doing is there is no requirements. We can't control that. That's more of a irrigation companies, the ditch companies and stuff in Idaho control all that, right? The history of Idaho, you know, we've had 1,000 miles of canalways put in the early 1900s that helped create some of those shallow aquifers that we have all over, right? We tile all those things. This is my beef. We tile all those things that's killing those shallow aquifers, not the deep ones, but the shallow ones. And so I prefer them to stay open. Now, what we're doing as a city is we're trying to utilize those canals, the drainage canals and the irrigation canals as pedestrian and bicycle areas. We got agreements in place with a couple of the companies that run that. That's going to allow us to put those pedestrian pathways and stuff in there. And we're working on, we have a consultant in place that's been working on this for a year. We have that map that's on the wall over there, because it's kind of a preliminary look at our north and south of Star, where we think all the trails and pathways and stuff should go to kind of connect the city if you want to walk or ride or whatever. They're taking that and they're expanding that into a master plan for us, which allows us to go in and put it through the impact fee committee group to start collecting impact fees on new construction to help pay for some of that pathways while we have development also pay for it. It's I can't remember the name of the consultant. We've used so many consultants on things, but it's a consultant that we bid out. We bid the work out that's focuses on that plan. This Star that's hiring them, correct? It's us that hired them. It's a $100,000 contract over the year for them to work on this. No, we have no planning and zoning commission in Star. We have a planning and zoning department in Star. I am not a fan of that here in Star. A planning and zoning commission is not necessary for the city of Star. It's an extra layer that doesn't need to be there because we have public hearings. The difference is when you look at a planning and zoning commission in the city of Boise, for instance, right? City of Boise has their own fire. They have contract negotiations, police negotiations. They got all sorts of things going on that these city council members do. The only thing our city council does typically is land use hearings. That's their job. They were elected to do the land use hearing stuff. You put a planning and zoning commission in place, you're putting non-elected people, appointed people in position to take care of that on a lot of that without it actually getting to the city council. So this is the reason why I want everything that we do land use wise to go through the city council. So it's in a public setting, a public hearing. No, 16. So no, I'm going to back up, and I don't mean to not discrediting what you're saying. The 16% growth rate never happened before until COVID hit and people bailed, like you folks did, into the state of Idaho. But I'm just to be honest, right? City of Star did not shut down during COVID. Okay, we still had public hearings. We still had land use decisions. We still allowed things to go. No one could have ever predicted the mass migration that happened out of the states. I call them the Cal states, California, Oregon, and Washington, right? Coming into the state of Idaho and in the city of Star. So being open, following what we believe in the Constitution of being free, right, allowed development to continue. No, it's 16%, but you got to remember, a lot of this stuff has been approved even years before on some of these developments. The 16% is on residential building permits. The only reason these residential building permits, we've had projects sit out there for 10 years that were approved that weren't even built. They weren't even developed yet. That when this mass migration came in, all of a sudden they started developing. We can't stop those. Those are already entitled and ready to go. Yes, so moratoriums in Idaho are not allowed unless you have an issue like your water, your sewer and water systems, right? So fire and police don't count towards that. Roads don't count towards that. That's the unfortunate part we have with this moratorium. Some of the state court cases have said that, right? And that's where my challenge is, where the state, if you don't want to increase my budget authority ability, then give me an opportunity to limit the number of building permits, right? Because otherwise, if I limit building permits, that's a form of moratorium, right? Because now I'm taking an entitled right away from somebody that's a private landowner, right? And that's what a moratorium is. Now, just to be clear, the city of Middleton is struggling with their sewer and water. They've chosen to they're limiting permits and stuff like that because of the issues they're having. Our sewer and water capacity, we have 7,000 more hookups available on our system. They're way ahead of the game on that. They've always been ahead of the game. So we don't have that option of just leaning on that right there, right? We do have it. So we have a comprehensive plan right there. And what we've done over the last 4 years to combat the growth, we've reduced the densities in that plan. That's how we control it. We reduced the densities by over 40% in the city of Star. So we've knocked out 40% of the available housing stock that you could have built in the city of Star in the last 4 years on that. That's how we've combated it. We can't knock it all the way out, right? But we have a planning area that we plan to grow. Now, if people bring in, and this is where people don't understand, if someone comes in with land into the city of Star and we say no, doesn't mean the county won't go say yes, because they could take it to the county at that point because we said no. And if the county says yes, we have zero control over that. And all those people utilize the services of Star, our parks, our police will end up out there, all that at no addition. You're paying for that. And that's why you got to be very careful when you just flat out deny something, because then you're setting yourself for failure. The city of Middleton is suffering that right now. They said no to a lot of stuff, and the county has approved a bunch of development that blocks them from growing as a city accordingly, and they're utilizing their services, right? So it's a game it's a shell game that you're playing. But how we do it is on that comprehensive plan, we've adjusted the densities down to address that need on all the future growth approvals that come in. It doesn't change what was already been entitled. It just changes future entitlements for people's property. So that's how we have to play that game. No, so we have very limited high density. So everybody's definition of high density is so different. So we don't have 8 to 12. We have only a couple areas where a few apartments locations are located right around Highway 16 and 44 and right up there along 16 and 2026. Those are the only locations that we have in our density map that allow that kind of high density in there. Yeah, right. So we've had a lot of discussion about that, and we need to, what we're looking at is the trade-off. If you do, because we also require 15% open space in development. So if we require 15% open space, so on 100 acres, 15 acres has to be open in some way or another. If you require minimum density sizes, the likelihood of getting more than that 15% open space is very small. I would almost rather have people cluster houses and create more open, right? But it doesn't create more traffic, it's the same density. It's the same density. You don't change the density. The density, let's say it's an R3. It's an R3 on 100 acres. You can have a maximum of 300 homes on 100 acres if it's an R3, right? But on that R3, you get 15 acres, that's open space. So now you have 300 homes on 85 acres. But if I can create a community, and I'm not necessarily saying it's for this, I'm just giving you a scenario, right? If you can create a community where those homes are more clustered and I can get 30 acres of open space in that versus you have the same density, it doesn't change anything. The densities are still the same, right? It's just the configuration of your houses and the size of your lots that makes a difference. Right. And I'm gonna, so Eagle, but if you look at Eagles, so Eagles used to be known for larger lots. You look at what Eagle's doing now, it's smaller lots, right? But at the same time, if you look at our comprehensive plan, we are covering all bases on that. If we have areas that are 1 unit to an acre, that's typically a 1 acre lot. Most people will build a half acre, or they'll create half acre lots and stuff like that on those developments. And we have several of those in the city of Star. So the option's there. You can't just pinpoint and narrow down to one option because it doesn't work. You have to have a mix for everybody that's in there, right? And I think we do a good job of that in our city on spreading that out. You haven't seen a lot of that yet because down here in the core is more of that dense area, right? Here in Star. So I completely get it. No, and I know from Meridian? Good. Get out of Meridian. Come to Star.
Hey, Mayor, real quick.
Sorry, go ahead.
I do want to come back. You asked the fire chief about, hey, how are we getting developers and them to pay for some of these first responder services? I will tell you, I know we've talked about it several times, but I'm not sure if you're aware. One of the things the city of Star, and I'm, as far as I'm aware, we're the only city that's doing it, and it's fantastic, is the mayor forward thinking, knowing that this problem with the legislation on capping what we can do on budgets, he put in place a mitigation fee. So every building permit that goes through the city of Star, it was $1,100 to Star Police for personnel and $1,200, but now it's $3,300 for us. So it's, it has created it, which is great because that's how we paid for the additional deputies, well, last year and this year, rather than having to, because our 100% of our taxes that, our property taxes pay for Star Police. Well, how we're making up that change is actually those mitigation fees. So
Yeah. I can't, but. So that's what we've done. But remember, yeah, it's one-time fee. It's not an ongoing thing. So it's a temporary fix, right? And that's where we got to fix the other side so that we can maintain that service level with our police in the future without running into a shortfall. But this is, you're right. And so back, I don't remember, we did it 2 years ago, what is today, 2024? So in 2022, I think it was somewhere in there, before I went to the BCA, I said, I need to meet with everybody to tell them what's going on, building contractors. And this is where I was going to force a moratorium and really get people talking. We would have got sued, but I was just going to get people speaking if I couldn't get this changed. But so I went in and I said, listen, we have a problem. We're growing at a rate that's unsustainable. The citizens that are here expect the same level of service, but it's going down because everybody's moving in. And I have no way to control that. I need your help to help me find a way to fund this. And so the BCA helped come up with this plan originally with the mitigation fees. Building Contractors Association, there's an association for every group that's in America, I think, right? But it's the Building Contractors Association that all these developers and builders and stuff belong to. And so they help, they recognizing that problem, they help create that funding mechanism for that. This year, we went to the BCA and said, listen, we're still growing. We haven't made any changes to House Bill 389. We're going to triple those fees. We have to. They didn't support that because for them, for every $900 that is increase in the value of a house, it causes like 1,000 people to be unable to purchase that home. I get that. But at the same time, my thought is I have people that are here already that we need to maintain that service, that level of service. So if they're going to come in, they need to help pay for that service to at least maintain that status quo right now, right? While we're working on that, and then you need to help me. This is another shot over the bow. You need to help me get this law changed. Create that coalition of folks that's willing to put that pressure on the legislature to make some adjustments so we can make sure public safety stays whole, throughout this whole thing. Like I said, everybody else can be adjusted. These guys can't. We need them all the time in our communities, right? And schools is a different animal. We have zero say in schools at all. Yeah, it's a school district, just like the fire district. I can't do mitigation fees on that. That's already been challenged. We tried. We were looking at that kind of stuff, but we can't do that. You can't build. You what? So, okay, let's talk about separating out of West Ada. That was actually, well, that's okay. That's good because I will tell you what myself and former Mayor Pierce and Eagle looked at in 2022 was how can we break our cities out of West Ada so it's not so big and we have more local control over that. It is a logistical nightmare with the state to get the approvals through the boards, through the citizens, figuring out the breakout of funding for the facilities that are already built. How do you fund that? How do you pay for the bonds that have already been associated with the school district? It's a challenge for all of that. And so we looked at all that stuff on there. Yeah, yeah. So kind of different animal. Yes, ma'am.
Thank you guys do, Zach, Greg, and Trevor. I do appreciate everything. Where the mobile home park was, is anything going on there?
Yeah, there's a project that's going to go in when it comes, when they, I don't know if they filed it on there. But there is, from what I understand, there's a building that's going to go in there with a downtown plaza kind of a thing, outdoor plaza kind of a thing. Yeah. Yeah.
Why is Freedom Park crawling? I mean, there's
People?
there's no progress.
Well, there was no progress. Yeah. So Freedom, she asked the question, why is Freedom Park? There's no progress. There's actually progress. We just don't see it because they're to the point where they need to plant trees and plant grass. We had to wait until we got the water situation put in place there with the pump house. We're not. So this Freedom Park, so the water that's coming in, we have water shares in Heron River. The city of Star does. It's not Heron River. It's that whole project when it was approved back in 2006. This park always had a certain number of shares of water out of that system over there. Yeah, but it's not just Craig. It's everything. The same thing at Blake Park with Saddlebrook. The same thing with Pavilion Park with the Pavilion development. Every one of those. The thing is, if there's a pump issue, the city participates in fixing that stuff. The city will help pay for any increase in electrical costs, all that kind of stuff, and it rolls in just like a regular homeowner would when they sign on and pay their fees. And in fact, if it comes to a problem where the pump is not sufficient enough, which we have done in these other parks, is we will go replace that pump and increase it. So it's better for everybody, right, on that. Yeah.
So to follow up on that, you say the city will participate or pay the increase in the electricity. Let's just stay with the one. That's electricity for the pump house. And you're pulling that electricity from?
I mean,
Where's it
well,
coming?
it's from the pump house, from the increased cost of the pumps running.
Where did the electrical hookup to the pump house come from?
At the pump house.
No.
It has to start somewhere.
Well, I mean, I guess I don't understand your question. Where's the meter? Or
Where's the meter? Where's this increase going to come from? How are you going to? Right. And where are those meters located?
I think they're at the pump house. I don't know. I don't have that answer
Okay.
for you.
I do.
So where's the meter at? Then tell me where the meter's at.
I believe they wired in a electrical box off of Breakwater Road.
The green box, right? Yeah. And
So that is Heron River electricity coming into that box and going into that wireless connected pump house. So my question is, how's that being monitored for an increase? Because paid for all that.
so Heron River, right, but we're paying for the additional power that comes through the lines. We're not paying for the box. We're not doing any of that.
So I understand.
Yeah.
How's that being monitored? So you know
Well, it's hooked to a meter somewhere. There is a meter out there. There's history on how much you use in the summer. We see how much, we're running it right now. You can take the difference of that and figure the difference out and pay that payment. I'm sorry. Well, no, it's because we had to get that pump house going. They're energizing the water lines today. They've been out there all week because I asked the same question, where are we at with that? Since that's running. They're energizing the lines, getting the sprinklers in. Once they get that, they can get water on that and then they can start planting trees. And quite frankly, it's been too freaking hot this summer to plant any trees and grass. So our plan is in September to get that stuff planted out there as the temperatures cool down a little bit. And that water line should be all good. So that water that's in the pond is all groundwater, right? We do have a section that comes out of that pump if we have to replace some. We're not anticipating, and they've been running it because they're testing it. Have you ever been over there and watched that? Look at that. Have you seen the fish swimming up the stream that was created? It's kind of cool. If you want to see some ecology stuff, man, go over there and see the trout that have been born. They're all at the bottom swimming around. And then you see some of them jumping up the rocks. Going in there. I'm like, water gets shut off, you're toast, up there. But yeah.
Talk to you.
Okay. Yeah. Oh, sorry. I've been yelled at by Dana.
With the Treasury, what they did was they went with other states to be able to form their own entity to be able to compete against California and so forth. I would have to go back and ask her, but it was something about being able to get loans and so forth. And before it basically, it was like, oh, you're Idaho, you're just really little, and so they never got what they needed because it was just small little states working on their own. So for HB 39, if it's something for small towns,
But remember, HB 389 is different every year. So this is House Bill 389 from 2021. Instead of, I don't know what year that one is. This one specifically deals with taxes and property taxes.
my question is, because I'm not speaking from a point of knowledge, is have the smaller towns and counties in Idaho gone together to form a unity to be able to work up against the larger areas? Because you're never going to be able to compete, like you said, against Meridian and Nampa and things. So it might be advantageous to form an alliance with smaller towns.
So we do have that. So we have the Association of Idaho Cities and Association of Idaho Counties, two associations that control each side, right? We also have a Treasure Valley partnership here in the Ada County, in Canyon County and Owyhee County. And all the cities are involved with that, right? We talk about this as a group and try to fix this. We don't have separate alliances with the small cities, but we have conversations about it, right? So they can join this coalition that we're creating with the commerce folks, the building folks, the realtor folks, the cities, the Fire Chiefs Association, Police Chiefs Association. All these folks are joining together as a group to help combat this. And that's what we're working on, is trying to figure out how can we fix that bill to adjust it, right? Adjust that bill so that the smaller communities in Idaho are not being impacted by the maybe at the most, bigger cities that they were trying to address with that. So that the coalitions are there. And so this next year, I'm the Idaho Association of Counties liaison to the legislature. So I'm going to be down there and advocating and doing all that kind of stuff, right? I do it anyway, but that's part of what I'll be doing this next legislative session down there for all the cities in Idaho. But it's for everything.
Smaller cities together, that's the only way you're going to be able to fight. It's like the Electoral College. The only way we have a say in Idaho is because of the Electoral College. We've got to ban. I'm just thinking, it looks like the structure's in place, but
There's a lot of there's a lot, but the thing is there's a few powerful legislatures that many legislatures won't go against. That's the challenge. And the people in those smaller communities and smaller areas need to pressure their legislature to make some change, right? And go against that thing. Did you have any questions? Nothing? Come on. Any more questions? I don't know if I answered, but we are doing that. I spend so much times in meetings and stuff like that going over a lot of this stuff and working. So we had our association meeting in June, and they gave me time up there, and I spoke to the entirety of the group, all the cities in Idaho. And I've got a lot of them that are coming in, giving me help, resources, talking to folks, right, and building that coalition. Right. Correct.
So
In our,
So.
oh, I can tell. You're fine. Yeah, the cities need help. The fire districts need help. This is not a unique thing for these guys. There's several, there are about 20 or so fire districts that are in the same pickle right now in the state of Idaho that are going to be asking for increases too. So you're going to see more of that happening over the time. Any more questions? Yeah, we're really close to planning. It's going to be awesome once we start getting that going. I've been eager to get, I've been wanting this done in April. I mean, that's really what I really wanted. But is she walking home or what? Oh, wife came and got her. All right. He had to pick her up from first day of school because of a bus thing. So she got to enjoy government on the first day of school, right? Yeah. But it's really close. I'm eager to get it done, get it going. I just want to let everybody know, there's a lot of misinformation on social media. Imagine that, right? About the water quality in our ponds. The water quality. Yeah, the water quality is, we test every week. We test for E. coli like we're supposed to from the state. It's the lowest anywhere in the valley. With people saying that it's bad, that they were getting sick. Well, they were getting sick at a time that COVID was going like crazy again around our area. We had DEQ come out. They said, you have no issue in your water out here. So you can cut that out. But we tested, it's posted on our website under Freedom Park. It has the little chart on there that shows the, I don't know what, parts per millionth or whatever that they test for in there on the E. coli and stuff like that out there. So our water quality is good. Did you have another one since I opened that up?
You're doing. Okay, so you're going to get all of this planning done starting in September or whatever. And when will the fences come down? You actually open the park?
Well, it's actually open now, unfortunately.
Well, part of it is. And I would anticipate, because my question is for Zach. Once that park's open, do you anticipate you'll have to have more presence?
Let's talk about that. You want me to talk about it? You want to talk about it? Up to you. You can talk about it first.
All right.
And I'll.
So I do know that with the park, I had no idea when they opened the park. Well, we didn't open it, just people started showing up, that it would have caused the amount of influx of people that we were seeing there. We had we were very busy. Star Police had a lot of presence down there this summer. I do know part of that is because Eagle State Park's closed. And so a lot of people usually go swim there because that's actually a pretty busy area if you go there during the summer, especially hot days, a lot of juveniles, families going there. Well, with that being closed, this is the next easiest spot to go that's free to go swim. So I do expect that probably next year won't be as much because Eagle State Park should be back open again, depending on what they're going to do with that. I don't know. But the one thing we're doing that we tried to get in this year, but we didn't, was the budget to have, Detective Takeuchi, who's our school resource officer in Star Middle School, we've now, the budget's been increased enough to be able to pay. So how that works is Ada County Sheriff and West Ada School District pays for that position to be here in Star Middle. Well, City of Star, usually during the summer, that position goes back to patrol or South County or somewhere in the county to patrol a portion of the county. Well, now the City of Stars did 0.25% of that pay to keep that detective here in Star. So he will be, there's actually an office down at that we've worked out with the city that he'll actually be able to work out of by the Star River House. He'll be down there during the summer to help out with those juvenile things. And what's great is he already knows quite a bit of the juveniles because he works Star Middle. And so he'll be able to know quite a bit of them too and be able to have more of a presence down there.
So we purchased a golf cart, blue one for the police.
Yep.
So I snorted. Oh my goodness, what was that? Right. Oh yeah, there we go. We purchased a blue golf cart for him, and then we also are getting some e-bikes for some other officers to hit and be able to drive back deeper in that. And then we're going to have city staff down there too when that opens. That's going to be maintaining the park. So there are going to be additional eyes on there. And then we've also set up a cameras out there. I don't know if you've been seen between the two sidewalks. there's a camera up there that is pointed on the dock and down the sidewalk paths and stuff. So the police have access to that on their phones. So if they're not there and they're out somewhere else, they can take a quick glance, like at night, because that park closes at sunset. At sunrise to sunset, all of our parks are, except the river. The river is not the same. So the river walk, going down the river, it's all night and all day long. So they can go on there, if somebody's down there or in the parking lot, then they know that they need to head down there at that time and address that needs before it gets out of hand.
Actually, that's two things, but one of them, I don't want to pop your bubble, but one of the comments I heard just yesterday, talking to an individual that has loved the park, spent lots of time with her family there swimming, and said she's really disappointed because it's starting to get overrun by Nampa individuals coming up. But the second one, well,
No, go ahead. Answer your second one. I'll answer both. I'll trigger it for you here. We cannot limit people. It's a public park. But again, the Napa folks coming in, great. But guess what? When the police officer's down there not 24/7, he's not going to live there for Pete's sake. But when he's down there all day long, that's going to change the dynamics of the folks that are going to show up. The ones that have been causing the problems. Because once we started putting more police presence down there, excuse me, you start seeing some of those hoodlums gone. And when these guys have the ability to trespass folks out of there, they have a system that has their picture and stuff on there again, so they can issue them a ticket or arrest them or whatever they have to do at that point.
about disruption or hoodlums or anything else. Busier.
It's getting busier. Yeah.
My only point was the Pond and Eagle being closed right now may not even be affected.
Well, and it could or could not. It's very possible. And then Lake Lowell, when it gets algae bloom, people quit going there, right? And I learned something from the DEQ guy. I don't know if you know this. If you stick your hand in algae, well, he said don't use your hand. I was using my hand. But stick a stick in the algae. If it sticks to the stick, it's good algae. If you stick it in there and it slides off, that's bad algae. I had no idea. I didn't. Growing up here all my life, I didn't know that. And he told us that. I'm like, wow, that's pretty impressive. So now I know. So I'm glad it wasn't bad algae when I stuck my finger in there. And I was like, oh, that doesn't look good, right, on there. So any other questions before we get out? No? I appreciate everybody coming. This is awesome. And welcome to Star when you get over here, from Meridian. Yeah. Yeah, and get out of that town of Meridian. I grew up around here. Who's all native here? Him and I. I'm a Boise High graduate. He's a Bora High graduate. Not at the same time. I'm older than him. But. Yeah, you got a lot of. Yeah. Are you Idaho? I mean, how long you been in Meridian? Well, oh, see, you're a native. You're a native in today's world. Oh, Arizona, via Arizona. I will tell you, I spoke to somebody that got the Star from Arkansas yesterday. How in the world did you get the Star Idaho from Arkansas? I'm sorry. What's his? Is he a Raiders? What is yours? Oh, okay. He's not a sports guy at all. Good. So my family, Idaho since 1880. That's my family. No, for serious. My family, not me. No, I'd be the oldest, crustiest guy in the world. So, yeah, right? Yeah. Well, thank you guys for coming. So in September, I'm not sure, we're trying to adjust this a little bit because Chief Tominski, his operations chief retired. And so he's trying to backfill that. So he's having to go to these different meetings that he goes, I didn't realize all the meetings he went to on the operations side. That's why he has to take off. So we're trying to adjust these so he can be here to these meetings. So be looking on our website and on social media for the next one and invite people in. I mean, I love it. love to talk through all the stuff that we have going on and no questions off the table really on this thing, right? Yeah, even from where you're from, so. All right. So thank you so much, guys. Good luck on getting home in the traffic. School's out. Well, school's already been out for a little while, so hopefully we're good. Well, you guys, I don't know about you guys, but you just take a right. You don't have to go to the traffic. Go to Harem River.